getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. This is round number 4 of this season, coming to you today from Cadwell Park. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me, working the comms and the cams, is Joshua Wilkie. Well, Josh, for the 4th round of this championship, we head to a track that we've seen before and we'll definitely see again here in the world of the Formula V Weekend Warriors. Cadwell Park, ever since it was introduced about 3 seasons ago at this point here in the sim, has become a bit of a staple here with these Formula Vs. We have visited this track every single season since. I personally really like it. It's old school, it's flowy, it definitely has that unique feel and unique challenge baked into it, but I really think this is a fun track. I could put on some good racing as well. So I have a feeling that we're in for a really fun afternoon here for race number 4 of this season.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there, Ron. This place is a blast. I love coming here. It's, yeah, as a broadcaster and as a driver, I really like coming to Cadwell Park. It's probably one of the nicer looking tracks on the service, I'd say, as well as it's just a blast to drive around here. It's up, it's down, it's left, it's right, it's narrow, it's fast. It's got a little bit of everything. You can throw the car into some uphill sections. You can get a little bit of a jump here sometimes. We just saw, I believe that was Kurt Nunez coming through there, get a little bit of air even. I just really like coming here on. So yeah, like you said, old school fast sports car track. Love it.
Yeah, this track is super, super fun with 18 corners baked into this track, which, let's face it, not the longest in the world, only 2.18 miles. Very short track, a very fun track, though, and I think these drivers are going to have a blast here today. But as we are still early on this broadcast, let's do an onboard lap with the other driver we're on board right now, that being none other than Kurt Nunez in the 918 car, heading his way down into turn number 1 and 2 right about now. This section of the track, very quick, the quickest part of this racetrack by far. Really feels like a track of two halves, but that's neither here nor there. That's turn number 3, a very fast corner there, spinning you onto this back straightaway. This is the longest flat-out blast of this lap, down into turn number 4, this uphill run as well. These low-powered Formula Vs, good to get exit at 3, otherwise you're going to be a sitting duck down here into the heaviest braking zone around this racetrack. Through the turn he's going to go. Very narrow this part of the racetrack, very narrow this racetrack period, so you don't want to have any sort of mistake, otherwise that grass is going to be calling out your full legal name. This is one of the quickest sections of the track, one of the most challenging as well. It's a downhill chicane of 6 and 7. You can see Kurt Nunez running wide on corner exits. Not the best line through there. Down the hill, off into turn number 8, one of the steepest downhill braking zones, I think, on the entirety of iRacing at all. Puts Bathurst to shame. That's turn number 9 and 10. Yes, those are 2 corners technically. Here's turn number 11, another uphill chicane through 11 into 12. There's a crest of the hill, that jump that you mentioned a couple of moments ago, Josh. Now in through the slalom section at the end of this lap. That's turn 13. Here's turn 14. This is 15. Coming up is 16. And the streak of this is broken by that hairpin that comes out of nowhere of turn 17. That's a really tricky corner to try and nail down. The weight transfer is not your friend heading off through that section of the track. That's the final corner, the medium speed right-handed sweeper of turn number 18, bringing this lap to a close. A lap record around this place was actually set by a British supercard racer and a Division 1 supercard back in 2021. It was Sam Moss behind the wheel, setting a 1 minute 21.036. And the fact that a go-kart has the quickest lap around this track really shows that this track opened all the way back in 1938, with this current version of the track being as it is since 1961. It is super, super old school based off it's so narrow that a kart is quicker than most cars.
Yeah, that just kind of makes sense around here, doesn't it? The smaller cars, kind of nimble, definitely gonna be able to kind of beat other cars around here for sure. I've raced around here in the FF and in the SRF. That's about it though. A bigger car around here, haven't really had a lot of experience. I can't imagine driving like a GT3 car around here or something. Wouldn't really be as much fun at all. Truth be known, actually, I did have the record, I believe, on iRacing Season 2 for the SRF around here, so a little bit of pace around here myself. I know kind of how to drive around here. This is one of my favorite spots here. You can just dive the car into that uphill, and then you can get a little bit of air. You're totally right about that last corner, too. That hairpin, even though you know it's there, every lap, it just sneaks up on you. It feels like you get on the brakes too late for it almost every time. We can see Ethan Orr coming into it right now. Really hard to get on the brakes and get back on the gas efficiently through that section there. It just kind of seems to sneak up on you, Ron, every time.
That turn 17 hairpin is actually the second tightest hairpin around the entirety of this racetrack. Not a lot of people know this layout of the track, which is actually one of my personal favorites and one of the only layouts I ran for the longest time here at Cadwell Park. The Woodland layout, which uses one of those access roads you can see right there as they head their way down to turn number 1. Yeah, you can see that break in the barrier and the 2 rows of cones. That is technically a turn that makes the Woodland circuit what it is right before turn 1 on the layout we're using right now. It cuts through into turn number 10 and 11 on this track and cuts out this entire back half, which is far more open, far more flat out, and far quicker. That hairpin turn number 1, there are cars here in the sim that cannot go through that without having to execute a 3-point turn. So as much as that turn 17 hairpin may be tight, turn 1 of the Woodland circuit around here actually takes the bill as the tightest hairpin around here, which is just absolutely absurd. And speaking of absurd, for the 4th week in a row as it stands at the present present moment, Ethan Orr would be able to grab the overall pole position. He has been on fire in qualifying up to this point here in the season, but despite being a very good qualifier, hasn't really converted to good results thus far this season, has yet to visit victory lane, that Spec 1 category, or at all this season. So who knows, maybe now is the time to shine for Ethan Orr, a very talented racer, was able to do well at another great UK racetrack a couple of seasons ago, Will's Thruxton, where he grabbed an official, the overall win as a Spec 2 racer. So Ethan Orr may realize that these old school UK tracks could be a happy hunting ground for him. So let's see if he'll finally be able to break through.
Yeah, this is a place, you know, it's a bit of a specialty track, right? So it's one of those things too where you can kind of have a really good game plan around here. You can have a good plan of a fight, and then you get a shot in the nose and everything changes, and it's really easy to off track here. It's really easy to kind of just get things wrong, especially on the first lap or two, and they're going to be trying to sort themselves out, as we see Andrew Love getting it wrong here. That was definitely on purpose, but a little bit of fun to be had here out in the field in between here for sure. And you can actually go off the road here and get pretty lost out in the grass. It's happened to me once or twice, I believe, pretty famously in the rain when I was doing pretty well for a little bit, and then it really started to rain on that famous FF race where it just downpoured here, and you get out into the grass there, and I couldn't even get back on track. It probably took me 35 seconds to get my car straightened back out and get back on track. But yeah, like I was saying, pretty easy to make a mistake around here. A bit of a specialty track, so we'll see kind of who comes out on top. Could be a new driver. Who knows?
Yeah, this is one of those racetracks where parity can certainly play out. Thankfully, won't have to worry about rain in this race for these Formula Vs, although I think there is a rain race that we are expecting a little bit later on in this championship, as that is a spin for Nick Tullo. Bad time to mention this, but Nick, along with his son Tor, makes today's broadcast possible here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Decides to sponsor this week's show, and hopefully that is not a bad omen for the race that will lie ahead for those who originally from New England here in the U.S. and then that made the pilgrimage to the UK. And I believe towards either living in Japan still, or he's not living there anymore. I've never gotten the exact full details. I believe he's back in the UK from what I know, but was in college in Japan for a little while. Tortella currently set to start this race on the front row, right in front of Felix Moes. Looks like Ethan Orr has been unchallenged thus far in qualifying just yet. Still at a 138.897 as your provisional pole sitter. Antonio Reese is your top qualifying Masters racer at the present moment. I'm not sure what happened to my voice. I apologize to my dog's eye noise with a high-pitched squeak there a few moments ago. But you also have a rather competitive Spec 2 category. You got Parviner Ladar, Andrew Love, Luca Kraus, Michelle Lynn, who let us know that she is doing this race with a broken toe, so we wish Michelle well for that. Brian Hansen, who we're following right now, currently qualified in P13, Jason Grider in 15th, and Lars Tihus in P17. A packed grid of Spec 2 racers. Nice to see that out here tonight.
Yeah, I love the Spec 2 class for sure. It's always good when the Spec 2 class is heavy with a lot of drivers and stuff. Definitely. Spec 1, you know, has kind of dominated things in a few of the series from time to time, but yeah, today we're looking fairly even out there actually. Not too bad as far as the classes go, which is always good. And of course here at the Weekend Warriors, they are definitely jockeying for points out there. It doesn't matter if you're an S1 or S2 or a Masters driver, you're racing that driver in front of you for points. You do have to kind of make a bit of a mental check every once in a while whether it's going to be worth it, especially if you're leading your own class or something like that. So there is a bit of politics going on out there, I guess you could say, depending on what it is you're going to do, depending on who's in front of you and how you're going to take that. But it is worth it sometimes to get out there and just get those extra points. And I think we all know, at least myself anyway, I can't help myself but to try to race the people in front of me, whether they're in my class or not most of the time.
And speaking of politics, and we're off the air. Here's Michelle Lynn, currently qualified at P11. Just jumped up to 9th, though. There we go at a 140.329. That's a pretty good lap time from Michelle right towards the end of this qualifying session. Looks like just about everybody has got their qualifying efforts in for the most part. Still with about 2.5 minutes left to go here in qualifying. We'll follow Antonio Reese for a couple of moments. I will say, looking at his... oh boy, what is wrong with my voice here today? Holy cow. I don't believe Antonio has any more laps left here. I believe he's on lap 5 presently. So I think this may be it for Antonio here in qualifying. Just getting a bit more seat time here as I'm getting the hiccups. Worst time to get him is on the air. But I think Antonio Reese is just about done here in qualifying. Very quick race car when it comes to the straight line speed department. Some drivers scraping up into the 103s, of course, here in this solo qualifying session. No draft assistance allotted to these racers in this very draft-heavy race car, so don't have to worry about that too much. But considering qualifying, for lack of a better term, is essentially set here with under 2 minutes now left to go, I think we'll take a quick on-gander at the championship point standings heading into the 4th round of this championship. We've had a pretty enticing and exciting first quarter of this season, and it's been a fun one up to this point for Stern. Let's take a look at Spec 1, where Felix Samoas, the Weekend Warriors veteran, is your current championship points leader. 270 points on the board. He won overall in the opening round of this championship a couple of weeks ago at Alton Park. He won in Spec 1 at Phillip Island, where it was Spec 2's Andrew Love winning that race overall. Wasn't able to get the job done in terms of the Spec 1 win to go for 3 straight last time at Summit points, but he is still your championship points leader. Ethan Orr slotted in P2. Those two looking to give us a real intense battle there. Josh Justice slotted in P3, but a silent horse up to this point in the season, but he slotted in 3rd. Very nice for him. Kane Lasky in P4, and Guido Marzuki rounds out your top 5 in Spec 1. We'll take a look at Spec 2 now, where that class has really been up in the air. Parvin Ladar, though, finds himself in the championship points lead. Michelle Lin, your reigning Spec 2 champion, is slotted right behind him. P2 with Jason Grider rounding out your top 3 there. Andrew Love with that overall win a few weeks ago at Phillip Island is in 4th after missing last week's race that he sponsored at Summit Points, with Dan Szynski, who's actually in the YouTube chat, rounding out your top 5 in Spec 2. So that's how it looks there. And quick on look at the Masters class before we run out of time here in this qualifying session, where the Masters class is currently being led by Alan DeGassis. 222 points is what he stands on at the present moment. Antonio Reese in P2, the 192, only 2 in front of Jim Brewster, who's not in P2. Instead, he's in P3 in the 933 car. Wayne Buttermore, Kurt Nunez, Brad Cathcart, Yurgmani, and series admin Stevie Ray round out your field in Masters. So that's how it looks when it comes to the championship point standings heading into this race as we break out the WD-40. Stevie's still there at the top at 66 points. It's actually no. I'm spraying hairspray instead of WD-40, so that's the reason why it's stuck. You'll just appear there for most of the show.
Well, you know what? Let's get through the grid quick, and then hopefully we can clear that up. And looks like we're gridding up here.
Yeah, I'll burn through this as quickly as we can so we can give those overlays a quick little refresh. It'll be Ethan Orr from the pole, Tortolo on the front row. Orr continues that streak of now 4 straight poles for him. Well done to Ethan Orr. Tortolo set to join him on the front row. As I said, starting this race in 3rd will be Felix Samoas. Alongside him will be your Masters pole sitter of Antonio Reese. It'll be Nate Coliseo off the back of the win last time at Summit Point, rounding out your top 5, with Parvin Ladar joining him on that 3rd row. It'll be Andrew Love in 7th. Leon Frost in 8th, Michelle Lin at 9th, and Luca Kraus rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, then we got Jim Brewster in 11th, Joshua Justice in 12th place. In 13th place, we have Brian Hansen, 14th, Kurt Nunez, 15th, Jason Grider, 16th, Nick Tullo, 17th, Lars. I'm not going to try that last name. We'll call him Lars from the Netherlands. Russell Telkers in 18th, in 19th, Rob Wright, and in 20th, we have Chris Melton.
And then looking right behind those racers, just outside of the top 20, the field continues on with an empty piece of real estate, I believe. It's 20 starters here in this. So thank you to the graphics for keeping note of the fact there are 20 racers as your forgetful host thinks there's a bigger grin than that. But still 20 cars here for this race. This is going to be one of those tracks where it is very easy to run out of real estate. You don't have a wide racing surface. You don't have a very long track, but it is one with a lot of challenges baked off into it. And it's going to be a fun one for round number 4 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Round number 4 of this season 3 of 2025. Been a good one up to this point, but for the 4th week in a row, it's Ethan Orr starting from the pole. Tortolo, the sponsor of today's broadcast, joining him on the front rows. A green flag is that, and the drivers are on their way down the start-finish stretch into turn number 1. They're gonna go. It's a flyer of a start for Ethan Orr. Tortolo slotted in 2nd. He's going to get a bit of a boot scoon boogie as there's a driver going off a little bit.
I think that was Nunez.
Kurt Nunez, I believe. Yeah.
Yep, I believe that was Nunez. So pretty clean start here in the beginning. Looks like we got the overlays sorted out there. Sorry for that quick little blink at the beginning there, but looks like we got the overlays sorted and a clean start as Tortello's going to make it too wide. This is kind of when you want to start to sort yourself out a little bit already here. It is a pretty line of stern track and it'd be hard to make passes, so it might be a good idea to sort yourself out early.
As they're side by side heading their way off through the top end of the track, it's Ethan Orr and Tortello battling tooth and nail for the race lead down into turn number 6 and 7 for the very first time. Tullo gonna back at it. Ethan Orr going to jump into the race lead. He's followed right behind by Tortello in second. Felix Samoa is in third. Antonio Reese is still your Masters leader with Andrew Love, your top running of the Spec 2 racers as it stands presently. Should be noted that Chris Melton and Rob Wright did not take the start. Not sure what the deal is for those racers in Spec 2 and Spec 1 respectively. They're in P19 and P20. Bad start for them because they didn't even take it. But Ethan Orr will continue to lead this field that's still packed together like there's nobody's business.
Frost with a nice move
off through the final sector, and that was a slick move from Frost on Love.
Yeah, sweet move from Frost there. You really have to be opportunistic around here. Oh, looks like Michelin almost getting caught up. Looked like a bent nose there. It looks like almost that hairpin we were talking about at the beginning there, Ron, catching some drivers out almost, but it does look like they got through there clean. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get a replay of that, but just out of the corner of my eye, I saw them kind of bunching up. It looked like Michelin had a bit of a moment there, as it looks like we're going too wide at the front here through T1.
And here we go, the side-by-side racing continuing to flare up between these racers, looking to break away and form their own pack. Jason Grider making an early call to come down pit lane. Not sure what the deal is for the driver of the 552 car. Going to look to see whether or not there's any sort of outstanding penalties. Doesn't look like there is one, so not sure what the deal is for him, as side-by-side between Orr and Tullo off to the top of the circuit. They're gonna go into 4, and that's Ethan Orr holding on to the race lead. He's followed by Tullo, followed by Samoas, followed by Antonio Reese. Leon Frost losing a little bit of time. If that doesn't stop, we may end up seeing these front 4 break away.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of those tracks where you can break away for sure. We saw that move as well, Ethan Orr making into one of the only spots on the track. You know, one of my favorite spots to try to make a move anyway. You can definitely make one happen there. People like to kind of misjudge that, as it looks like we have an incident in the back. I believe that was Luca Kraus. A bit of a spin there and got walloped coming out of that corner. I'm not exactly sure who hit him, but we will try to catch up here with Jason Grider as well there. You were mentioning, Ron. Looks like he has had some sort of an incident here. We do have an incident report on iRacing here, so maybe we'll have a quick look at that here as we go into lap 3.
And let's see the moment for Grider heading his way out of turn number 12. The hop, skip, and a jump over the crest. He's gonna go. And was it a moment down to the slalom section? It very well might have been. He runs wide on the exit at turn number 13 into 14 and bang into that inside wall or outside. I'm not really sure how, into one of the walls he's gonna go, heading off through the end of the lap. We're gonna run on board with him this time for the replay. You can see the crawl that it takes coming out of turn number 12. Look at that, he runs a little bit wide, heading through turn 13, hits a curb a little bit, and then that sets him up badly into 14, hits that inside curb yet again, and much like an overcooked sausage, those anti-cut sausage curbs on the inside cause him to chip a tooth.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to watch Leon Frost here make this move up the inside, and this tiny little short shoot here, he was just able to really get some speed up over that section. And again, that was me, mentioning in the beginning there, you can just hawk the car into that corner if you get it right. And it looks like that's what Leon did there for sure. And yeah, you're totally right about that, about the incident there as well. Just unsettled the car a little bit. Really easy to get the car unsettled in there. And if you kind of just get a little bit crossed up on the wheel, very easy to lose it like that in that section.
Yeah, that section, turns 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, it is a relentless assault on these cars. So it's very easy to have a mistake pop up heading off through that part of the racetrack, looking through the field and following the drivers who have lost touch of some other packs. Nick Tullo, who we follow right now, is currently classed in P15 at the current moment. The only races behind him is Russ Telker, right behind, about 0.8 of a second is the gap between those two. Luca Kraus and Jason Grider have run into some difficulties, with Kraus currently 26 seconds back with Russ Telker. Actually now Nick Tullo, I should say. Tor's dad dropping down as we take a look at that moment for Luca Kraus.
Yeah, so it looks like again into this difficult section here. Looks like everything's pretty copacetic so far. A little bit of a curb knock there. And then a bit of an accordion job. So that was just a slowdown, basically. That's actually the one I believe I saw in the beginning there. So really good job for the drivers to sort that one out.
Yeah, so a small little tap there from Luca Kras. Not sure what may have been the case for him. He's dropped down like a rock thrown into a pond. So may need to figure out, do a little bit of investigating.
I believe we saw him spin shortly after that there, Ron. I'll see if I can't pull it up for you. You're right. Something did happen to him. I'll see if we can't find it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a downside of having me on these broadcasts. I have the short-term memory issues of a goldfish. Leon Frost just got the move done to jump his way up into third in front of Felix Samoas and Antonio Reese. So you know how I said that if they didn't play it safe, we may end up seeing Leon Frost and Nate Colasio lose touch of that pack. Don't think we're going to see that unless they both get involved in their own respective bits of drama. It's now a 6-car pack, a 6-pack of Formula Vs running up at the front of the field here early on into this 30-minute long race. 6.5 minutes currently on the board. Tortolo still leads it. We ride on board with the driver of the one car, your reigning multi-time champion here in the FB Weekend Warriors. Antonio Reese is 5th, top of the Masters Racers, and right through the tail end of this pack. And the first driver out of this battle is Andrew Love, your top running racer in that ever-competitive Spec 2 category, where I really cannot nail down who's going to be your champion at the end of it. Parvital Adar, Michelle Lynn, and Andrew Love, I think, all have a really good shot to get done this season.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I absolutely love that. That's great that we're, we're going in around 4 here. It's still really tight. Lots of time to sort out the season still. This is a really good track to lose some points at, though. You can gain them here if you play your cards right, but man, you can get it wrong here pretty easily as we see the tension kind of building here between Leon Frost, Ethan Orr, and of course Tor. You know, you're mentioning earlier there, he's a multi-time champion, and the only way you get multi-time championships there is by being consistent and making good decisions. And this is a really difficult time in the race, really. You know, you're about 7 or 8 minutes in. You got a little bit more time to go, about just a little over 20 minutes. You got to make sure you're making good decisions and stuff now and just maintain. It's super hard to just maintain, harder than you would think. The drivers around you, you're not sure what they're going to do. Is Leon Frost, does he want to pass him now? Does he not want to? Should I get in front of Ethan? Should I show my pace now? Shouldn't I? You know, just trying to get in Tor's head a little bit. But the drivers are going to be doing the same thing all around him as well, and it's hard to figure that out. If you don't sort it out right, that's when you have one of those 0-point days, and you don't want one of those this early in the season. Like we were saying, it's pretty close still.
At this point in time, these drivers wondering when it comes to the battles they find themselves involved in, should I stay or should I go? That may have been one of the cheesiest lines I've fired off in my entire time doing sim racing broadcasting. So if you'd like my job here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, why not write to us at that was a moment for Felix Samoas, I think, heading his way through turn number 18. Saw him dip a couple of wheels off into the grass on corner exits. Now, I mentioned how intense the battle is for the Spec 2 championship here this season. The battle for the lead period in this race is pretty hair-raising at the moment. We follow Josh Justice involved in that championship battle in Spec 1. Not a good day for him at the present moment. Currently rounding out your top 10 and not really around anybody, even though he just set his personal best lap of the race last time by. So not sure. He's still 2 spots, so a valiant effort for him. I think the other drivers a little bit farther up the road were just able to break away as he was trying to make his way up some spots. As here we go, it's a 2x2 pack down into turn number 4. That's Orr in front of Tolo, in front of Frost, in front of Samoas. They're continuing to fight them. The case of Samoas and Frost. Let's see as they head their way down into turn number 6. Take out the camera in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. I timed it out badly. That was a close shave of the roll hoops as they headed their way through that section. Samoas gets that move done to jump his way up to the podium.
Yeah, cool camera angle there for sure. Makes the Vs look like they're absolutely hauling the mail there, and they are around here, actually. This place is pretty quick. It's actually a really fast track. It's probably one of the reasons you don't see certain cars around here. You can really get up to speed around here, and those walls are pretty close. You could have a massive crash around here, and it does happen from time to time. I believe they have quite a bit of like hill climb event sort of things around here where it's like time attacks, and that's sort of what every lap feels like around here. That's why it's so fun, I think. You just attacking the track every lap, and it kind of begs you to attack and attack and attack and attack more, and that's when you can kind of make a mistake too. So you gotta be, like I was saying, you gotta try to be consistent out there and make good decisions and so on. But the track can really get under your skin around here. It just makes you want to go faster and faster. It's a really fun racetrack.
I feel like there have been there's a term that they came up to describe the Nürburgring Nordschleife. I think they called it ring fever, talking about how once you start to put some laps in, you want to just constantly drive around, improve your time. It's a track that can be addictive in certain cases. I feel like this has that same sort of feeling to it, and I mean, this is a terrible comparison. I feel like I'm going to get killed in the other YouTube chat for saying this, but I will say it anyways, mainly because I'm getting paid to say it. This track kind of has the sort of characteristics that the Nordschleife does. Lots of elevation change packed into a track that has nothing but grass runoff area, very narrow, very old school, some old buildings around it, and very narrow track altogether. So I feel like there are certain bits of this track that do feel somewhat Nordschleife-esque. I wouldn't say it's exactly like the Nordschleife, but just has that sort of same feeling to it. Just an old school, old natured track.
For sure. Yeah, it feels like a diorama, like a little mini or something of the Nordschleife. As if you're going to make a little go-kart track of the Nordschleife, this would sort of be it. You're right. There's a lot of elements out there. There's a lot of, basically it's just curvature in the road and concave in the road and so on. So you actually have kind of pockets you can get the tires into. Nürburgring has a lot of that as well. You can find these little these little nuances about the track, and this one's definitely got those bumps you can use to your advantage and so on. And it's a really fun track because of that. I think it's not flat. It's got lots of character. Yeah, but I'd say it's a good comparison. I don't think you'll get ripped for that one.
In terms of the stuff that I say on these broadcasts weekly, daily, really, when it comes to the broadcast I do, period, there are many things that I say on these shows that I definitely deserve to get a few kicks in the ribs for. I won't be shocked if later on this evening. So for context, folks, I'm going to be on the air for about 13 hours today. I've already been on the air for 2.5. I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of today, I'm going to start yodeling on the other Weekend Warrior shows tomorrow. But we're not yodeling at the moment. Instead, these drivers are trying to yodeling their way up to the front in the case of Tortolo, but still not over yet, as Ethan Orr looking to fight back and does not get that move done back to take the race lead through turn number 5. Going to slip back in tow. Coming up to the halfway mark of this race as well, and it's been a rather exciting one up to this point. This front 6 pack has really been exciting to follow.
Yeah, definitely. This place is just fun to watch cars drive around too, and then obviously we're getting some really good jockeying back and forth here for position. They're able to keep away from the pack here, which is kind of surprising me. It's a pretty big pack of cars here, and we're not totally getting caught by everybody behind just yet. It is kind of bringing some other people into play here. I believe next car to come play here will be Andrew Love if he's able to catch up to this pack, which I think, the way things are going here, it's probably going to happen. We're a little bit too line astern here, and you just can't put in the lap times then. We'll see what kind of lap time they're putting in this lap here as they come by, Ron, but I would imagine it's getting a little slower. Between them and Andrew Love is what we need to have a look at here. So another 4 seconds. Colaseo's definitely part of this party now. It's really going to be about managing these positions from here on in, not making any mistakes and just making good decisions. And we'll see if this pack can get a little bigger. If Andrew Love makes it into the fight here, Michelle Lynn can make it into the fight after that. Jim Brewster's only 4/10 behind them, so you never know. We still got some time left here, Ron. Too wide again.
Yep, they're yet again side by side. I feel like it's at the point with the side by side racing here in these Formula V races that it's just par for the course, really. It was a 2x2 pack as they headed their way off into turn number 4. Not the first time we've seen it, definitely will not be the last either. Ethan Orr, though, and all that, has been able to jump up into the race lead in front of Tortello. Felix Samoza and Leon Frost continue to battle for 5th. Andrew Love, I feel a little bit bad for him. He is running essentially all by his lonesome at the present moment in P7, as a big gap to himself and Nate Colaseo, and Jim Brewster is slotted in P8 as well. I think if we followed him, we would be very hard-pressed to find any other race cars on the road. It basically feels like he is running alone, going for a Saturday afternoon cruise, as, something's going on with Ethan Orr. He's dropping down like a rock. It must have been a moment. It was a moment through turn number 12. He's slow on exit down to 4th.
Yeah, I just caught that on the timing tower out of the corner of my eye there. Of course, right when we try to get to another battle, something happened up here. So he's definitely lost about 3 positions there. Looks like over near the jump. So we'll have to go back and have a quick peek at that here right away if we can. Let's see exactly how that kind of played out. It looks like maybe we can get a look at that right about. Oh yeah, we definitely have an off track from Ethan Orr here, so let's have a quick peek at that. Looks like coming into that big compression run.
And down into it, he's going to go through turn number 11 and 12. Oh, he hit the curb. That's exactly what happened. Now look at that error that he got as he went off the track through 12.
Yeah, amazing save and awesome job to be able to get back in line and barely lose any positions there either. I'm going to try to hop on board with him here quickly and just see. This one's really easy to overshoot it. You basically fling the car into this corner. Yeah, it looks like just a little bit upset in the rear. It wasn't exactly the most overchargy way to get in there, and you're going to see him here try to file back in. Everybody playing ball, and boom, he's back in behind Leon Frost there. Not an easy thing to do. Looks really hard, or looks easier than it is for sure when you're off the road kind of panicking how you're going to get back in line.
And you can see that car have a little bit of undulation as he went through the curb. You think of the curbs here at this track. It's 3D curbs like most new iRacing tracks, or the other 3D curb technology being brought in recent seasons here on the iRacing platform. Those sawtooth curbs, though, with these low-slung, low-power Formula Vs, you hit one of those with, let's just say, the floor of the car, or even the plate underneath the transmission, the gearbox at the back of these cars. It'll kick you up pretty badly. So I think that may have just been what happened for Ethan Orr, running over the curb, got bumped in a very odd way, and through he goes. I mean, we talk about that. You called it the compression earlier on, Josh, and that's really said quite well whenever you see those racers head through that section, that uphill climb. Gonna just compress the springs in the race cars running through there. So that's part of the reason why that happens. Contact being made, a huge crash between Felix Samoas and Leon Frost side by side through 1 and 2, and I gotta say that was ill-advised.
Oh, right as we changed cameras there, caught that right in our face, and again, it looks like maybe just kind of tripping over each other a little bit there, Ron. I wouldn't put it. We're gonna have to have a look, obviously, see if something was maybe a little too aggressive there, but that is going to take Leon Frost out of that fight for sure. Felix Samoas now gapped back from the pack as well. He's about 4 seconds behind the leader now, and dropping as we have a little bit of a fight actually behind him with Jim Brewster, Michelle Lynn, and Joshua Justice here duking it out as well. Leon Frost, a bit of a, yeah, that wasn't a good one there. I guess we'll have to go back and have a look shortly here.
Yeah, may need to take a look at a replay. Leon Frost, he's decided to call it quits here in this race. That's unfortunate for the Brit behind the wheel of the 59 cars. Ethan Orr, he's had his own drama as well. What has happened to Ethan Orr? What has happened towards the end of this race? I think there may have been some big drama because Tortola now holds on to a massive lead. 1.8 seconds the gap between himself and Antonio Reese. So as much as that drama flared up a little bit earlier on, I don't think it was necessarily over. This was as they headed their way down into turn number 4 on one of the previous laps. You can see that Leon Frost and Felix Samoas were still involved in this battle at the time. As this was
going to be fairly long here. So there's a couple off tracks, and then an incident. So we saw the axle-to-axle contact there with Tor and Felix, and now it looks like we're going to get another little scrum here. I'm going to stick with this. There's not a whole lot going on quite at the moment on track, so we're going to find out exactly what happened here, but it looks like that sort of kicked off with some wheel contact. Ethan Orr, yeah, looks like he got a little bit plugged there going into that corner. Not exactly sure what's going to happen here, Ron.
Yeah, I think this will hold through until we see that moment between Leon Frost and Felix Samoas down into turn at number 1. And side-by-side racing heading all through that section of the track, even in these slow FVs, just not necessarily the best idea as far as I'm concerned. But let's take a look at this. You can see Samoa's getting the draft from Tullo, but the main driver was Leon Frost, who had a mighty amount of momentum. He tries to get that move done around the outside, off into turn number 1. And yeah, you can see not a lot of room left there. A little bit netcode involved in all of that as well. And that's what took Ethan Orr out of it all. I completely neglected the fact that that 22 car piled into that accident and drove over the back of Leon Frost. That wipes all 3 of them out in one fell swoop.
Yeah, unfortunate there. I believe netcode did play a little part in that, didn't it, Ron? We'll go back to live pictures here now. We see Antonio Reese, Tortello leading, of course, now. And we got a pack of about 3, and Andrew Love able to make up some pretty good time there. So he's only about 1.5 seconds away from this lead pack now. Bringing us back to what I was saying earlier, this is a great track to get some points. It's also a really easy one to get a big donut at the end.
Every single time I see these racers bump each other as if it's a stock car race heading off through turn number 7, I don't know about you, Josh. I get a little bit nervous. It feels like a mix of my bones sitting in vinegar for 5 hours, and it also feels like I'm being electrocuted slowly but surely. Antonio Reese runs a little bit wide at turn number 3, a quick trip through the lattice on the outside. That's not going to help him out at all. Let's see himself and Tullo continue to fight down into turn number 4. Nate Coliseo also there involved in this fight as well. There's the move from Tullo. There's the move from Coliseo. It's now a spec 1-1-2 with your Masters leader of Antonio Reese running in a firm podium spot. That would be a mightily good result for Antonio if he can hang on to it. Looking through this season, we've already had 2 different Masters drivers get overall podiums. It was Alan DeGassis at Alton Park who walked away from that race with a P2, and last week at Summit Point, it was York Monty finishing on the final step of the podium at 3rd. So let's see if we can have a 3rd in 4 races with Antonio Reese still running strong.
Yeah, I think that was probably the best move for Antonio Reese there, too, to sort of just let that happen. Tor's been working that line all afternoon, trying to get up the inside of that corner. He knows it really well. And it was probably just a good idea for Antonio to pull out, let these 2 by. Oh, man, every time we come through here, it's a butt clencher. It doesn't matter what car you're in, how many times you've gone through it, especially when there's somebody in front of you. You're kind of gauging whether or not they're going to send it this time, and you always want to send it. And yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one for sure, but yeah, I wonder how this is going to work out here at the front. It looks like, Antonio Reese is still in good position here to be able to make something happen, even though it is difficult to make passes around here. This is just going to be all about playing ball for the next, about 7 or 8 minutes here.
Yeah, just get towards that white flag lap. Really, with 2 to go is probably when we'll start to see these racers turn up that wick and get a bit more antsy. But before then, I think it's now just the right idea to keep it calm, keep it cool and collected. And right as I say that, to go side by side up the hill down to turn number 4, and that's Coliseo getting that move done to jump his way up into the race lead. And you know how I said earlier on in the show that the only driver thus far this season in the Weekend Warriors world to get a win as a non-Spec 1 racer was Andrew Love a couple of weeks ago at Phillip Island, where some drama broke out heading through turn number 2. Well, some drama broke out through turn number 2, and Andrew Love is right at the tail end of this pack.
Yep, he's caught up to them for sure, and we're squabbling now for position. Coliseo a little bit loose on the paint there, I think. Unfortunately, just pushed her a bit wide. Was probably flat to the firewall on that one, and yep, that's it. Unfortunately for Coliseo, he's out of this race. Just as I was about to say, we don't have the usual players up front, right? There's going to be a little bit of different minds going on. A couple of these drivers are used to being beside each other, and then all of a sudden, I'm in a pack of drivers I've never been around, and they're having their own race and so on. So it's a little bit difficult there at the front. Coliseo really losing out on that one.
Yeah, that's a major moment for the driver of the number 8 car. Doesn't look like it'll be back-to-back visits to victory lane for the Chiquita banana car as he slips on that banana peel heading out of that turn. That was a bad pun. Let's see if he has his way through leading this pack. Yeah, that was a soft spot to swing at that. Whoa. It was a curb yet again.
Yeah,
it was a mix of the paint and the curb.
It's a little surprising in this car, isn't it, that it was able to power to basically grip spin there, or power a throttle. Just not really expecting that to happen in this car. Didn't think it had enough torque to do that, but apparently it does.
Yeah, I think there are very specific situations where the car will be able to spin up one of the rear tires. I mean, the power generated from one of these race cars is equivalent to your regular household appliance. Frankly, a dryer would probably have more power than some Formula Vs, especially if you're blowing your motor here in iRacing. I'm pretty sure your microwave would have more power than your blown up Formula V engine. But still, in all that drama, it must be said, Antonio Reese has been able to get a move done to jump his way up to the race lead. Let's take a look at this moment as they headed their way down to turn number 4, taking advantage of that draft. Gets that move done on Tullo, who should be noted as well. You're thinking about all that drama going on, and it was certainly exciting. But it all kind of started because I think Tullo gave a bit of a courtesy lift to allow everybody else to catch up, to give us a good battle to talk about. So, hey, even if it doesn't work out for him at the end of this, sportsman stuff there from Tullo to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to create a good race here. I'm going to lift off. I'm going to take it easy.
Yeah, it's definitely the way to go. Honestly, that's one of the reasons he's up front now, and he's actually pulling a bit of a gap. Is he has he's driven a really clean, consistent, well decision-making race so far. Like I was mentioning earlier, just letting those two drivers by, and look where he is now. It didn't really matter at all. So being aggressive like that, I was a little bit surprised actually to see Torque kind of challenge on the inside there on the last attempt through there, instead of just sort of letting it by. Not that it really matters. He has the speed to catch up, as we see Felix Samoas as well is now caught up to the back of this pack, and he is going to be a player in this fight for sure, as Andrew Love doing really well today, making up some positions. Looks like he's definitely in contention for a podium now.
Yeah, and let's see as these racers head their way down into the turn. It's looking good for Antonio Reese, but Samoa is getting back involved in this fight as well. You'll love to see it from the driver of the number 31 car. Josh Justice and Jim Brewster also having a swap-a-roo of spots. They're battling for the final spot inside the top 5 as Parker Ladar and Brian Hansen had a squabble there as well for the final spot inside the top 10. But the battle for the podium is still going to be intense all the way up into the end. And imagine if we finish in this order, having a Spec 1 winner finish a race in third. That would be rather wild. Doubly so, finishing behind the winner of both Spec 2 in the case of Andrew Love in second, Antonio Reese in the race lead in the Masters class, as Felix Samoas with a snap heading his way off through turn number 11. You know how I said I'd start yodeling tomorrow? Well, if there's more moments like that, I may start yodeling today.
Yeah, that wouldn't make anybody yodel, I think. He was probably yodeling on that one. It's just another little moment there coming down into the hairpin. Not an easy track, I bet you if we stayed on board with any one of these drivers for the whole race, you'd be seeing that every lap almost. You're trying to gather something up, you're trying to catch something. At least if you're pushing anyway, there is kind of a 70% you can kind of lean on, and not make those moments. But Felix is out there trying to make up positions, and that's how you're going to find those moments there. As we see him even through a couple sections there, pretty cool in this this track. You're basically just floating the car through a couple sections. You're literally shooting it through things. Pretty awesome track. Super good driving out there for everybody, as we see him trying to hunt down Andrew Love here. Probably one of the better spots to make a pass on. We've been seeing happen lap after lap here. He's going to try it on the outside, and he's going to get it done. So pretty smart of Andrew Love there, I think, as well, to let him by, not fight that too hard and lose more time, more positions. Antonio Reese out here in the front, holding it down pretty good here so far. About a second lead on everybody now, so it's almost out of the draft. He's still kind of in draft range, but we're clicking down the wee hours of the race here now, so I don't think, well, I guess we'll see. Felix Samoas has definitely made up a lot of time. He's definitely got by Andrew Love, and Torres about 3 seconds behind now as well. So I think Antonio Reese is a really good shot at this one, Ron.
Ooh. As he has a sideways snap as well coming out of turn number 17. I hope we haven't jinxed him, as I briefly went to karate there for a second with a hi-ya moment. But white flag is in the air. One more lap of racing action here at Cadwell Park. And unless Felix Samoas and Andrew Love can really mount a charge, I think Antonio Reese is the one the catbird seats. He's got that advantage, though, does Felix Samoas, with the draft. And I don't think he's going to have Andrew Love really giving him too much trouble here as well. Love about a second back. They head their way off through turn number 2 and 3 for the final time. It's the exit onto the backstretch. They've got two drivers who have been around the block before here in the Weekend Warriors world, dicing for the win. Here comes the move from Samoas. Antonio Reese gonna block off that inside line, and he backs out of it. Antonio deciding, you know what, this is not my fight. I'm still on track for a Masters win. I am not going to battle and scrape the claw for this spot anywhere near as much as I would if it was a battle straight for my class win. Antonio, he knows how it works here in the series. He wants to give and he wants to take, and I think he gave a little bit there. Drops down to P2. Andrew Love slotted in third. Tortolo currently slotted P4 with Josh Justice running out to top 5 presently. However, the battle with himself, Jim Brewster, Nate Colascio, and Michelle Lynn is rather intense at the moment. There's some good scraping and clawing that's going on. This is a final spot inside the top 5. that these drivers are presently fighting for. Should be noted as well.
Brewster way off.
Oh, yeah, that was a big moment from Jim, heading his way down into turn number 8. Gonna run a little bit wide, drop behind Nate Coliseo, and nearly lose out on another spot to Michelle Lynn as well at the front of the field. Antonio Reese about to round his way through the final corner and grab yet another win this season. It'll be win number 3 for Felix Samoes, and it'll be a spin and win to get it done. There's a checkered flag for Samoes. He is victorious here at Cadwell Park. He's followed in second by Antonio Reese, your winner in the Masters class, with Andrew Love, your Spec 2 winner, rounding out your overall podium, and Felix sets a fastest lap of the race on that final lap as well. Holy cow.
Yeah, that was quite the charge. Spin and win. That's not an easy one. He's definitely got the pace around here, or found it during the race. And wow, we had a bunch of really good battles out there today, and everybody kept it fairly clean as far as it goes. We see Michelle Lynn with a bit of a bent front nose there. She's able to pull out the Spec 2 second place there, with Parvinder Ladar pulling in third for Spec 2. Pretty great race throughout all the classes. Felix Samoes showing why S1 is S1 there near the end of the race, Ron.
But man, that was an insane battle up towards the front. We had so many twists and turns throughout that. You know, you think of twists and turns in racing, you think of the ones on track, but that race had just so many plot twists. It felt like a movie from the 1980s. It was absolutely amazing, though, from start to finish. Felix Samoes, though, credit where credit is due. That'll be win number 3 for him thus far in that Spec 1 category, and his second overall win of this season. Those British tracks seem to be a happy hunting ground, which could be part of the reason why down under in Phillip Island he was able to grab the Spec 1 win, but ended up finishing P2 in the race overall. So, hey, it's looking good. A very good start to the season for Felix Samoes, able to grab the win at the end of this race. And as you said, Josh, a mighty charge as well after that moment with himself and Leon Frost heading off through turn number 1 and 2. The fact that he was able to come back from that adversity really speaks volumes about the kind of racer that number 31 driver is.
Yeah, absolutely. Not easy to come back from something like that, for sure. And you got to have some pace as well. Obviously, there was a little bit of squabbling going on up at the front, so they might not have been at full chat, but nonetheless, to be able to catch up that many positions and be able to pull it out at the end there. We saw Antonio Reese just letting him by, basically, which I think was a very smart move as well. He knows he's got the pace. There's really no point in fighting it, especially when you're leading your class. So really good heads-up driving from everybody out there today. I think, again, Cadwell Park proving to be one of the better tracks we visit.
Yeah,
we missed some burning down
on
here.
Some fun, and yeah, we get to burn him down with a rather interesting jump as well. And
here we go.
Nick Tuttle may have had a nice little jumping escapade. Let's see from his perspective. I think I remember a couple of seasons ago when Tortola got whacked towards the end by Jason Green. And, okay, so it was maybe an intentional slide from Nick, potentially, heading off through turn number 5, going for a drift through the grass. Josh Justice may have had a moment of his own. You usually see these racers go for the jump in the first half of the lap. The second half, despite the fact that they actually got to jump, these racers have to circumnavigate lap after lap.
I think we got it here.
Don't usually end up seeing him use it. Here we go. You can see a little bit farther up the road. That doesn't work, boys. Oh, my good. Oh, Andrew's stuck in the barrier. Wow. Oh.
That was a huge one there for sure. He plowed him straight into it. We see Josh Justice bouncing around like a tiddlywink on the ground there. Not an easy one to catch these sometimes. See if we can't get, maybe we can get Joshua Justice going into that one. Yeah, this is definitely one of the best spots. You get this jump just right, you can just sail the car off. This might be one of the best places to break the cars. Oh! End over end, over end, over end. Always a good way to finish it off, Ron. And, wow, what an awesome visit to Cadwell again. Let's get into our results here.
Yeah, let's take a look at the results at the end of this race before we see a Formula V car strike the moon or do their best lawn dart impression heading off through the runoff area. That, I think, is a photo of Brian Hansen there.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but we'll just leave it. It's good.
Yeah, well, he'll make his appearance here on these results page. I don't think the Racing Line podcast comes back for one more week, so they won't have to show this bit on the podcast this upcoming week. But Felix Samoes walks away with the win. He'll be followed in P2 by Antonio Reese. Andrew Love rounds out your podium in third. All of the racers finishing on the overall podium make up all of your classes here. First time I've seen that in my entire time covering Weekend Warrior stuff, at least in my memory. So, hey, the Formula V's can never know what's going to go on in these races. Tortello, the sponsor of today's broadcast, along with his dad, Nick, finishes in 4th. Josh Justice rounds out your top 5. It'll be Nate Coliseo finishing in 6th in front of Jim Brewster in 7th. Michelle Lynn in 8th. Parvin Lador in 9th, with Brian Hansen rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, and then Kurt Nunez, the Masters driver in P11. We have Nick Tello, sponsor of today's race. Thanks, boys, for sponsoring the race. Can't do it without you. We got Lars. Again, I'm not really going to try that one. We'll call him Lars from the Netherlands in 13th. Had a bit of an issue there, I believe, today as well. So pretty good to be able to pull out a 13th place there. Jason Grider as well with a bit of an issue early on. Ethan Orr, unfortunately, getting caught up in that late race kind of schmozzle there with the lead pack, ending up in 15th, as well as Leon Frost in 16th, Russell Telker in 17th, and Luca Kraus as well, 12 laps down, getting caught up in some shenanigans there pretty early on.
And so those are your results. Yeah, there we go. It's just 2 more who unfortunately did not take the star in the form of Rob Wright and Chris Melton. But that's how it shakes out at the end of this race. Got to be in it to win it. Unfortunately, Rob Wright was not in it, so he did not win it here at Cadwell Park in it. Oh, boy, I am on fire with the absolutely terrible things to say on these shows. We got some drivers looking to have a chat with us, though, on this broadcast. And I think the first driver that I want to have a chat with is going to be our Spec 2 winner at the end of this race. Andrew Love now joining us here in the commentary booth, our Spec 2 winner and our P3 finisher. Andrew, welcome into the broadcast booth. How was that race out here at Cadwell Park?
I was having a blast. I was really worried when I was stuck by myself about 4 seconds behind the leaders, maybe even 5 seconds for a while there. But I'm kind of glad to see them start knocking into each other and ping-ponging off each other. So I was able to catch up to the lead pack and give them a little fight there at the end.
And you certainly give us a good battle to talk about right towards the end. I noted the interesting nature of that battle, the fact that it was yourself, Felix in Spec 1, and Antonio in Masters, all battling for the spots on the overall podium, all finishing on the overall podium and battling for that race win. I want to ask you about that battle, because you've got that side of things where it's 3 drivers in all 3 different classes, but all of you guys have been here in the right Esports / Weekend Warriors world for a decent amount of time up to this point. So how was it with the veterans battle up at the front?
It was good. I was really hoping I'd be able to take an overall win. When I passed Tor was having hardware problems. That's what he reported after the race. So when I passed him and got into 2nd place, I was hoping to be able to battle Antonio, I guess was in the lead at that point. But I missed the 3 to 4 downshift a couple times coming down the hill. And I probably missed the 2 to 3 upshift going through the woods. And I just couldn't keep up with Antonio. And then Felix got by me. And I was hoping that I'd be able to use Felix to pull back up to Antonio, but that didn't happen. But it was fun being up there in the lead pack. I was hoping for another overall win. I had stars in my eyes.
Yeah, well, it still works out well for you, an overall podium. I'm sure you won't turn that result down one bit.
Nope.
Got another interesting race coming up in 1 week's time. Going to be running at VIR on the North layout. That usually puts on a good show, and we've seen races there in the past. So what are your thoughts heading there for the 5th round of this championship?
I'm sorry I'm going to miss it. I'll be out the next 2 weeks, possibly the next 3 weeks. So I'm kind of bummed that I'm going to miss one of my favorite tracks in the V. I really like that track. It should be a good race. Hopefully we'll have a lot of people, a lot of entries again, being that it's free content and a very popular track.
And now that I think of VIR and the North layout and the wild jumps heading off through there, I already have the image of a Formula V striking the moon or ending up in the trees there. So that's going to be an interesting spectacle in 1 week's time. But we'll be looking forward to seeing you come back on the racetrack in a couple of weeks. I believe it'll be at Long Beach that we'll see you return in a couple of weeks' time here.
Okay.
Drew. But we'll let you give any thanks or shouts out before we let you go and celebrate this class win.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast and all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I know there's a lot of work there. Thanks to Jim for organizing the league and putting it together. Thanks to Michelle and Stevie for all they do. And thanks to Nick and Tor for sponsoring this week so we can get on the big show.
Yeah, thank you as well for joining us here in the commentary booth. Andrew, congratulations on your second Spec 2 win of this season, the P3 result overall here today, and looking forward to seeing you hit the racetrack at Long Beach in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, okay. Looking forward to it.
Yep, take care. And that right there was Andrew Love, your Spec 2 winner at the end of this race. And Josh, who do you want to have a chat with?
Yeah, I think we'll pull in Antonio Reese there. I'd like to have a talk with him, see how he was able to make all this happen today. Pretty clean drive up front there from Antonio, for sure.
The top 3 each
Hey,
class,
Antonio.
right?
We pulled you in, buddy. How's it
Hello.
going, man? Good race out there
Thank
today.
you.
You were able to really kind of keep your head about you there, letting people by you when they needed to, keeping your pace up, keeping it nice and clean, and was able to get a really good position and the win in your class today. So yeah, tell us how you saw it out there.
Yeah, was really interesting. I was, just as you said, trying to do that. Sometimes we try to do, but we cannot do. So I just try and I could do it. So it was a good one.
Excellent. Yeah, it's not an easy place to pass around here, so you do have to have kind of passing partners and allow a pass to happen every once in a while, and it looked like that's what you were able to do out there today and keep it nice and clean. Yeah, so is there anybody you'd like to thank out there?
Yeah, for the Steve Ray, for you guys on the broadcast, and for the drivers, the viewers, and the sponsor. I don't know who is sponsoring today, but
It was the
yeah.
Tullos. Nick and Tor Tullo sponsored
Oh,
today's races.
okay. Yeah, thank you. So.
Yeah, and I believe we're headed to
Thank you,
VIR
guys.
North, I think, next time. So will we see you at VIR North next round?
Yeah, I will see. I hope to see you here on the broadcast as well. Let's see.
Right on, Antonio. Great race today. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Yeah, take care. Bye.
And that right there was Antonio Reese, your winner in the Masters category at the end of this race. And we have time for one more interview. And the man I want to have a chat with, we're doing reverse order of the podium here. And we'll have a chat with our overall race winner, Felix Samoa, is joining us in the commentary booth. Felix, how was it out there? That looked like a wild race from start to finish from you.
Yes. In the beginning, I tried to take it easy, just stay behind Thor and Ethan. Ethan was with the pace way faster than anyone else in the pack today. So I was just keeping it quiet there. Then the other guys came. Leon also getting in the mix, and yeah, I mean at that point, nothing much to say until Ethan had that. He lost control going up the hill. I almost hit Thor, so I also had to do some evasive maneuver. And then unfortunately that contact with Leon on lap 11, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean, I think he still had a bit room on the right side, I thought. So I thought he was going to back out and let me take the line. I think he did. He tried to do that, but we just had... the timing was not well coordinated, and we ended up doing some contact, which was unfortunate. Luckily for me, Thor had apparently some hardware issues that didn't allow him to go as fast as he could, because I believe otherwise he would just pull away from everyone else. And also there was also some battling side by side. Okay, I was almost forgetting that. So I was able to recover the 5 seconds something, or 6 seconds I lost in the coming together with Leon. And then in the end, I had luck on how the cars were spaced and the timing, so I managed to pass Andrew one lap, and the lap after I passed Antonio on the fast part of the circuit. And then I was fast enough to not allow them to get close to me in the more twisty technical part. And in the end, I won the race.
Yeah, and hey, it's your third win thus far this season in the Spec 1 category in the first 4 races. So must be feeling good about the start that you've had here on the Formula V side of things here in the Weekend Warriors.
I think I've been lucky, to be honest. Ethan is way faster than I am, and he's just been unlucky. When of Alton Park, it was that I just kept behind him, and then on the last lap I did my move, and it was good for me. So we ended up in front of him. Same thing I believe in Phillip Island. He also got the draft didn't go well for him. Today he had this bad luck of getting involved in that accident, because otherwise I think this would have been Ethan's races, all of them. I mean, I'll take them when they fall on my lap. I'll take them. But let's see how it goes. I like it. I mean, I'm having fun. So.
And looking forward to seeing the next round of the championship, VIR on the North layout in 1 week's time. What are your thoughts heading off to there in 1 week's time?
I like VIR. So let's see how it goes. And as Antonio say, I mean, I hope I see you here at the end of the race. That means I had a good result.
Yeah, for your sake, you're hoping to be back here in the commentary booth. Not only do we have fantastic snack options in the interview waiting areas here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, but we also...
somehow I missed that part.
Don't break the illusion now. We'll let you give that extra shout out before we let you go and celebrate this win.
All right, guys. As always, a huge shout out to everybody involved in making this such a fun community to be with, and the guys making sure that the races happen every week, and that it's fun to race, and you guys doing an awesome job in the commentary booth.
I mean, you drivers out there on the racetrack put on the brilliant racing action. We just get the opportunity to talk about it in front of a microphone. But hey, Felix, thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth. Congratulations on the win, and looking forward to seeing you hit the racetrack at VIR in 1 week's time.
Yes. Thank you.
And that right there was your race winner, Felix Samoas, joining us here in the commentary booth. Josh, yet another classic race here at Cadwell Park. This track is just so much fun.
Yeah, like we said in the run-up, Ron, this place is a blast. It's just a really fun racetrack to drive around, whether there's anybody on it or not. And when you get some great competitors like the Weekend Warriors out there, makes things even better. And we had a great race today. Great win from Felix Samoas. Great win as well, Antonio Reese and Andrew Love in their respective classes there. Some really good driving, and unfortunately, a couple zeros out there as well. This track always brings the fireworks for sure, Ron.
It's a fun track, though, and it puts on some absolutely wonderful racing action. Just part of the absolutely fantastic stuff we've got virtually, well, every single week, and hopefully soon every single day here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We have got you booked at when it comes to the action all throughout the week and into the weekends. Of course, tomorrow you'll be able to see the action from the Formula Fords running at Watkins Glen and the Spec Racer Fords running at Lime Rock Park. Keep it going with the traditional American tracks. We're swapping out, though, with the American tracks tomorrow and the UK tracks here today at Cadwell Park, of course, right now for the Formula Vs. And later on this evening, it'll be week 4 for Ron's race nights. It'll be the week 4 action from the Legends Road Course Cup running at Knock Hill, the track up there in Scotland. That'll be some good with those Legends 34 Cup cars. I absolutely adore those things. They also have rain support as well, which I don't think anybody has really talked about. Hopefully that show will not have rain, because I'm not sure if my graphics card on my PC will be able to cope. Of course, we've got XSLR coming up tomorrow night as well, the return of XSLR. That'll be Phillip Island for round number 15 of the season, running the GT3s there. Sim Races Group as well. You'll be able to see the action from the SRG F4 Championship at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park on Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday night, you can see the action from round 5 for the F3s at Fuji. So, whole lot of racing action to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast, for round number 4 of season 3 of 2025 for the Formula V Weekend Warriors at Cadwell Park, that will do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on today's broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.